Welcome back, guys. We're continuing to work on our 2012 Audi A4 Avant. So this series we are going to be repairing the framework on it. So the first step is going to be to lift up the frame, get the car into clamps. That way it's all nice and secure because we're going to be pulling on the frame. And once we have it in the clamps and up high enough, I got to disassemble all this, the radiator support, basically to give us access to the rails. So I didn't want to take all this off because I wanted to drive it onto the frame. So since this is on here, once we have it in the clamps, we're going to take all this mechanical stuff apart and then we'll start looking at it and pulling. Alright, so we're going to use our air jack to get the car up in the air. And Audi uses this undercoating here, so we're going to have to grind that off so that way the clamps can grip into the metal really good. Alright guys, we've got the car in the clamps, got the two front wheels off. The next step is going to be to take apart all this mechanical stuff, the condenser, the radiator, the intercooler, the radiator support, and probably going to take off the fenders too, basically anything that's in my way. Alright, so we've got everything off the front. Got to unhook the battery before we start beating on it, pulling on it, welding on it. Got to get this battery disconnected. Alright guys, so let's check out what we got going on here. So that's the rail right there. Now this is supposed to have a little indentation, obviously not that bad. Originally when I saw that, I was thinking that it's supposed to be perfectly straight. So that's going to be a little bit easier to straighten out, I think, but we'll see once we're going with it. This is going to get replaced, and the same thing here, this is going to get replaced. This rail, judging by the parts car, it's got to be out just a hair this way, because both the rails stick out just a little bit this way. That one's obviously way over, this one got pulled a little bit. So we are going to get our crosses, get a rough measurement, and then we'll start pulling on this rail. Alright, so this is just a rough measurement so we can get it approximately where it needs to go. So this rail, this corner right here, needs to be basically on the other side of this rail. This one's like 1/8 of an inch. I mean, it's just a smidge, which was hardly nothing. So, but we'll still yank it back just a little bit, just so everything lines up and everything's perfect. Alright, so I put the tower here like this because from our experience on the Ram, when I pulled that way, it transferred the kink or the bend from one side to the other. So I'm going to basically pull this forward and to the side, and hopefully that will come out without transferring the kink on there. Alright guys, so we got this rail, left to right, we got it exactly where we want it. I mean, I don't know if that's even worth pulling. Alright guys, right on the money. Now we'll get the laser set up for the level. Alright, so it basically took us longer to set up the car on the frame to get it into the clamps than it took us to fix these rails. The rails are now exactly where they need to be, left, right, up, down. This was slightly down. All I had to do was just take a hammer to it. It went right back into place. So all the measurements, all the crosses, they all check out. They're exactly where they need to be. So this is good. The next step will be to drill out these ends, weld up the new ones, and then replace that cradle. Alright guys, now that we got the old ones out, time to put the new ones in. Alright, now that this end cap, we know that it fit in there nicely. We're going to grind all the paint around where we're going to weld, and that way we can get a nice clean solid weld on there. Alright guys, now that we got everything ground down, we're going to spray some weld through primer and then get these welded on. Alright guys, just to be on the safe side, because those end caps do have quite a bit of play on them, and since the radiator support bolts to them and the rebar, I decided to fit these on there just to make sure. Alright guys, so we got our laser set up here. So we're just measuring the height of this, and we have already measured the actual frame machine itself, and it is 1/8 of an inch off level. This side is 1/8 higher. So we got this at 14 5/16, and this is at 14 3/16. So that's perfect right there. It's exactly where it needs to be. We already measured these out, so those are all good, exactly where they need to be. So we're going to tighten this up, and we can go ahead and put those weld spots in. Alright, now that I got my tack welds in place, I'm going to go ahead and take this support off. That way I can weld all the weld spots that I drilled out. Alright guys, so we got this all welded up, got those end caps welded in place there. Let's check out the welds. Those I think turned out really good. So we're going to go ahead and grind those down so that they're nice and smooth, and then we'll throw some paint on there. Alright, now that we've got everything ground down, got everything cleaned up, I wiped everything down. That's what they look like there. So we're going to go ahead and spray some undercoating on there to protect everything from rusting. And it's black, the rails are black anyway, so everything will match up. We'll go ahead and spray that on there, and then we'll move on to the next step. Alright guys, I got everything wrapped, taped off. Got some tin foil. It's a lot easier to get some of like these lines and wires and stuff. It just crimps around there and you don't have to worry about the tape. Also taped off these studs that have things that attach to them, so that way I'm spraying the bed liner or the undercoating, so that way it doesn't mess up the threads. So we're going to go ahead and spray some of that, and then while it's drying, this upper timing cover is leaking, so we're going to go ahead and replace that while we have everything apart and it's easy to get to. Alright guys, so I got that upper timing cover gasket replaced. We cleaned everything else up so that way if there is a leak in the future, it's a lot easier to spot. Here's what the rails turned out like with the undercoating. So the next part is going to be to start putting all the hoses, the radiator hoses, all those, everything that we took off, start reassembling all the mechanical. That way we can get the radiator support on there, the radiator, condenser, basically get everything buttoned up so that this car can drive off the frame and onto the lift so we can change out that subframe. Alright guys, so that's it for this episode. We got the framework all done. We got all the mechanical put back together. We're ready to ran it. I just turned it off right now. Had the coolant in there. It sucked some of it down, so we're going to wait for it to cool all the way down, and we'll top it off to where it needs to be, and she's going to be good to go to drive off the frame. Alright guys, so to make sure that you don't miss the next episode, we're going to continue working on this Audi. We are going to get it up on the lift and change that engine cradle, and then we're going to start getting it ready for paint, and hopefully we'll get the paint on it, and then we can reassemble it so we can finally drive it. And also, don't forget about the giveaway that we had going on in the Ram. That way you don't miss your chance to get that tool set. Alright guys, we'll see you in the next episode. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on the post notifications, like and comment.